Tyler Coleman walked up to Michael Harris, his eyes full of contempt. He looked him up and down, his lips curling into a sneer, before he spat right in Michael's face. Laughter erupted from the other officers, their mocking voices echoing through the station. Michael stood still, his face unmoved, his eyes cold and unyielding. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a handkerchief and wiped his face slowly, deliberately. His movements were calm, controlled, each stroke filled with dignity. His eyes locked on Tyler, piercing through him with an intensity that made the room fall silent. They see what they want to see. A nobody. Just another face they can look down on. But they have no idea who I am. Not yet. The laughter faded. Tyler's smirk faltered. He took a step back, suddenly uneasy, but still clueless about the truth standing before him. If you're tired of seeing power abused, and believe justice sees beyond appearance, hit subscribe and join the fight for respect. In a small southern town, nestled between sprawling fields and old brick buildings, the police station stood tall, a symbol of authority and power. Michael Harris stood at a distance, his posture relaxed, almost casual, yet his eyes were sharp, observing every detail. He watched as officers joked crudely, their laughter echoing through the parking lot as they shoved a young man out of the station, mocking his clothes and cursing his name. They didn't bother hiding their disdain, nor did they care who was watching. Michael's face remained calm, but his eyes darkened as he took in the scene. Dressed in worn jeans and a faded shirt, he looked like just another passerby, someone easy to overlook, easy to dismiss. But behind that humble appearance was a man of quiet strength and unwavering resolve. He was the new police chief, though no one knew it yet, and that was exactly how he wanted it. Michael was here for a reason. He needed to see the truth, unfiltered, raw, and ugly. He wanted to understand the culture he was stepping into, to see if the rumors were true about prejudice and abuse of power. He needed to know what kind of men he would be leading. From behind the tinted window of his car, he watched Tyler Coleman, the loudest of them all, who took pleasure in belittling others. Tyler's uniform was crisp, his badge gleaming with authority, but his words were laced with arrogance and superiority. Michael's jaw tightened, his hand subconsciously touching his hidden badge under his shirt, a symbol of justice that, for now, remained concealed. They see the clothes, not the man, Michael thought. But that's about to change. Michael Harris walked into the police station, his steps steady and calm. The room fell silent for a moment as heads turned, eyes narrowing in suspicion. Dressed in worn jeans and a plain shirt, he looked out of place among the pressed uniforms and polished badges. Tyler Coleman's face twisted into a sneer as he looked Michael up and down. Well, what do we have here? Lost, old man? Tyler's voice dripped with condescension. Michael met his gaze, his face expressionless, his eyes steady. Hey, Tyler shouted, his voice echoing off the station walls. I asked you a question. Or are you too stupid to understand? The other officers laughed, their voices blending into a chorus of mockery. Michael remained silent, his face calm, his eyes unwavering. He didn't flinch, didn't respond, just stood there, his presence alone challenging Tyler's authority. The laughter died down, replaced by an uneasy silence. Tyler's smirk faded, anger flickering in his eyes. He stepped closer, his face inches from Michael's. You don't belong here, Tyler growled, his voice low and venomous. Trash like you should stay in the streets where you came from. Without warning, Tyler spat right in Michael's face. The room went silent, eyes wide in shock, but no one moved. The officers watched, waiting for Michael's reaction. Michael stood perfectly still, his body rigid, his eyes locked on Tyler's. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a handkerchief, his movements slow and deliberate. He wiped his face with calm precision, his expression unchanging. His eyes never left Tyler's, cold and piercing, unflinching. The room felt heavy, the tension thick enough to cut through. Tyler's bravado faltered, but he held his ground, his lips curling into a mocking smile. "That's right. Wipe it off. That's all you're good for." Michael said nothing. His eyes bored into Tyler's, revealing nothing, yet speaking volumes. They see what they want to see. A nobody. Just another face they can look down on. But they have no idea who I am. Not yet. He folded the handkerchief neatly and put it back in his pocket, his movements calm and composed. Then, with an air of quiet dignity, Michael stepped past Tyler, his shoulder brushing against him as he walked by. The room remained silent, eyes following him, but no one dared to speak. Tyler's face flushed red, his fists clenching at his sides. He watched Michael walk away, his jaw tight, his pride wounded. But he had no idea his humiliation was only just beginning. The conference room was buzzing with chatter, as officers filled the seats, exchanging jokes and laughter, completely unaware of the storm that was about to hit. Tyler Coleman sat at the front, his legs stretched out casually, his arms crossed with the confidence of someone who believed he owned the place. His friends gathered around him, laughing at his crude jokes, praising his authority. Tyler basked in their admiration, his arrogance palpable. The door swung open, and Captain Harris walked in, his face stern and serious. The room fell silent as he made his way to the podium. "All right, listen up," Captain Harris's voice echoed through the room, commanding respect. "We have a new police chief joining us today. Someone who's been watching closely. Someone who's been evaluating this department long before today." Tyler's face twisted in confusion. "A new chief? I thought I knew everyone in this town," he muttered under his breath. He glanced around, trying to spot the newcomer, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. Captain Harris continued, "This man has seen firsthand what goes on within these walls. He knows the good, the bad, and the ugly. And today, he's here to make some changes. Changes that are long overdue." Tyler rolled his eyes, a smug grin forming on his lips. "Yeah, right. Another pencil pusher who thinks he can change the world," he whispered, earning chuckles from his friends. Captain Harris's eyes scanned the room before they landed on Michael, standing quietly at the back, his posture calm, his gaze steady. He raised his hand, gesturing for Michael to step forward. "Everyone, meet your new police chief, Michael Harris." The room fell deathly silent. Eyes widened in shock, heads turned in disbelief. Tyler's face drained of color, his mouth falling open as he recognized the man standing before him. The man he had humiliated, the man he had spat on, was his new boss. Michael walked forward with quiet authority, his steps measured, his face calm and composed. His eyes met Tyler's, piercing through him with an intensity that made Tyler's chest tighten. Tyler's body stiffened, his confidence shattered. His friends looked away, avoiding his gaze, their loyalty vanishing in an instant. I didn't know," Tyler stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I thought he was just some nobody." Michael's face remained calm, his voice steady and unwavering. "You didn't see a man. You saw what you wanted to see. And that is the problem." The room remained silent, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. Tyler's face flushed with shame, his shoulders slumping as he struggled to maintain his composure. Michael's eyes never left Tyler's, cold and piercing, reflecting the power of a man who held true authority. He could have humiliated Tyler right there, could have torn him down in front of everyone. But he didn't. Instead, Michael's voice was calm, almost gentle, but laced with undeniable strength. You judged me based on my clothes, my appearance, not my character. You saw a nobody because that's all you wanted to see. But respect isn't given. It's earned. Every single day. Tyler's eyes fell to the floor. His pride shattered. His power stripped away by the quiet dignity of the man standing before him. Michael took a step closer, his presence towering over Tyler. I could humiliate you, just as you did to me, but then I'd be no better than you. And I am better than that. Tyler's face turned red, his fists clenching as he fought back the urge to speak. But he stayed silent, knowing he had already lost. Michael looked around the room, his eyes meeting each officer's gaze, his voice commanding and resolute. Respect, integrity, justice. These badges we wear mean nothing without them. If you can't live by those values, then take that badge off and walk out that door. The room remained silent, the weight of his words sinking deep into every soul present. Tyler's shoulders slumped, his head bowed in shame. He looked at his badge, its shine dimming under the harsh light of truth. Michael turned away, his movements calm and measured, his face reflecting the quiet strength of a leader who leads not by fear, but by example. The silence was deafening as Michael walked out of the room, his presence lingering long after he was gone. And Tyler Coleman knew, in that moment, that his power was shattered, not by force, but by integrity. Michael Harris stood tall, his eyes fixed on Tyler Coleman, his voice calm but piercing. You spat on me, thinking I was just a nobody. But in doing so, you spat on everything this badge stands for. His fingers brushed against the hidden badge under his shirt, a symbol of justice and honor. Respect, integrity, justice, and today, you failed them all. Tyler's face went pale, his bravado crumbling as he tried to justify himself. I didn't know. I thought you were just... Michael's voice cut through the air like a blade. Just another nobody? Just another man who didn't look like you? Is that your excuse? The room was deathly silent, the tension suffocating. Every officer watched, their faces reflecting shock, shame, and unease. Michael's eyes never wavered, cold and unyielding, his presence filling the room with undeniable authority. I could fire you today, Michael continued, his voice steady and resolute. I could strip you of that badge, and you'd deserve every bit of it. Tyler's eyes widened, panic flickering in his gaze. But that would be too easy, and you'd learn nothing. Tyler's shoulders slumped, his arrogance shattered. He looked away, his eyes falling to the floor, his shame on full display. You will stand before this entire department and apologize, Michael commanded, his tone firm. Not just to me, but to every officer who wears this badge with honor, and to every citizen you swore to protect with respect. And then, you will attend every diversity and integrity training this department offers, publicly, until you learn what respect truly means. Tyler's face turned red with humiliation. His head hung low, his pride crushed. Michael turned to the room, his voice echoing with conviction. This isn't just about one man's mistake. It's about a culture that tolerated it, and that changes today. Michael Harris stood before the entire department, his posture commanding, his gaze unwavering. His presence filled the room, radiating an authority that came not from rank, but from integrity. The officers watched him in silence, their faces reflecting a mix of shame, respect, and contemplation. Michael's voice was steady, deliberate, each word resonating with purpose. Respect is not demanded. It is earned. Every day, every action, every word. His eyes scanned the room, meeting each officer's gaze, piercing through pretense and arrogance. Today, we took the first step. But change isn't a moment. It's a journey. His words hung in the air, heavy with truth, sinking deep into every heart present. This uniform, it stands for more than authority. It stands for justice. It stands for integrity. It stands for respect. For everyone. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. If you cannot live by those values, if you cannot wear this badge with honor, then take it off and walk out that door. Right now. Silence. The room was still, the air tense, as if time itself held its breath. The officers looked at each other, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. A few shifted uncomfortably, their faces pale, their shoulders heavy with guilt. Michael's voice grew stronger, unwavering in conviction. This isn't just about one man's mistake. It's about a culture that allowed prejudice, that tolerated disrespect, that looked the other way. He took a step forward, his presence overpowering, his eyes blazing with determination. That culture changes today. His words echoed through the room, bouncing off the walls, leaving no place for excuses or denial. No more silence. No more turning a blind eye. If you see disrespect, call it out. If you see prejudice, confront it. If you see injustice, stand against it. The silence was deafening. Some officers lowered their heads, shame flushing their faces. Others straightened their shoulders, determination hardening their resolve. Michael continued, his voice softening, but never losing its strength. If you stay, understand this. We are better than prejudice. We are better than hatred. We are better because we choose to be. His eyes lingered on Tyler, whose face was pale, his pride shattered. Tyler's shoulders slumped, his head bowed, his arrogance stripped away. But Michael didn't look at him with contempt. His gaze was firm, but filled with purpose. This is bigger than you, Tyler. It's bigger than me. This is about every person who looks to us for protection, for justice, for respect. Michael's voice grew stronger, resonating with power. We don't wear this uniform to demand respect. We wear it to earn it, every single day. The room was silent, not from fear, but from reflection. The officers stood motionless, the truth settling heavily in their hearts. Michael's words were not just a reprimand. They were a challenge, a call to action. If you can't meet that challenge, and then take off that badge and leave. His voice echoed, firm and resolute. But if you stay, then understand that change starts with you. Every action, every word, every choice. His eyes softened, his voice growing solemn. And if we fail, then this badge means nothing. A heavy silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of shuffling feet. Some officers glanced at their badges, their faces conflicted. Others clutched their badges tighter, resolve gleaming in their eyes. Michael's voice softened, almost gentle, but still commanding respect. If you stay, then prove that you deserve this badge. Prove that you're better. Because the world needs better. His eyes met Tyler's one last time. Tyler's lips trembled, his eyes red with shame. He took a shaky breath, his voice cracking as he whispered, I'm sorry, Chief. Michael's expression didn't change. You're not apologizing to me. You're apologizing to yourself, and to everything this badge stands for. Don't forget that. He turned away, his movements calm, his dignity unshaken. The room remained silent, the weight of his words heavy and unyielding. Michael walked towards the door, his back straight, his presence powerful. Before leaving, he paused, his voice steady, breaking the fourth wall as he looked directly at the camera. Respect isn't about who you are. It's about who you choose to be. Change starts with a voice. And today, I chose to speak. What about you? His eyes were firm, his message clear. Then he walked out, his silhouette framed by the sunlight streaming through the doorway, a symbol of hope and justice.